Alright, you guys, so Real Madrid beat Oviedo 3-0 in match day 2 of La Liga, and I fear Vinny Jr.'s had all of the criticism that was leveled against his performance from last week. So we're going to talk about this and much more in this review. But first, if you don't know me, or you're watching my video for the first time, or you've been watching my videos and you haven't yet subscribed, hey friend, hi guys, I am Just Max, and on this channel I talk about football from La Liga to the Prem and definitely the UCL. I am also a Barca fan, so if this is something that you're interested in, please stick around, be my friend, be my homie, hit that subscribe button, and definitely leave me your thoughts about this game in the comment section. Coming into this match, Xabi Alonso put out a starting lineup against Real Oviedo that featured 3 big changes. We had Dani Carvajal coming into the starting lineup, Franco Mastantuano in midfield, and of course Rodrigo, whom we haven't seen in a Real Madrid starting lineup for ages. Like, where is Rodrigo? Where is Rodrigo? Like, he seemed to have gotten missing. Of course, we know that the rumor mills are spinning with a possible Rodrigo move by the end of this summer, but I digress. And immediately when we go into this match, I never really expected Oviedo to do too much against Real Madrid. They're the team that have just been promoted to La Liga. They're a small team. Real Madrid is a juggernaut in La Liga. They have all this talent, so I expected them to, of course, sit in a traditional low block, absorb pressure from Real Madrid, and hope to counter-attack. Now, the first 1 second in the game, Oviedo surprised me by the way they opened from the kickoff. They immediately attacked and they put Real Madrid under a bit of a pressure. Thibaut Courtois had to come up big and make sure Oviedo did not score 1 minute into the game. But that was much of all that they did in that first half, because from that moment henceforth, it was all Real Madrid piling up the pressure on Oviedo and trying. Although I would admit that most of Real Madrid passing or playing that first half was a little bit slow, a little bit lethargic. Reminded me a bit about the game with Osasuna last week. A little bit pass, but with no clear direction here or there. It was just like having the ball for the sake of having the ball. I felt like Oviedo were a bit comfortable in absorbing that pressure, and they never really looked panicked at all. Now, I'm going to digress a little bit to talk about some of our favorite talking points from a Real Madrid game, which is like the refereeing inconsistencies. Now, at this point, we begin to see some development in how this refereeing is going to go, and it's going to be that Real Madrid are going to be called for a lot of things, and Real Oviedo are just going to have to roll with it. Now, I thought that there was an instance in that first half where, I mean, they should probably have gotten a card or definitely not even been on the pitch. There was a period where Oviedo had managed to secure the ball from Real Madrid and are trying to pass out of the back. Tchouaméni comes in with a sliding tackle for one Oviedo player, gets up, sliding tackle for another Oviedo player. I thought those were a bit dangerous, but I was surprised that the referee on the day did not call it at all. Now, some Real Madrid will argue that, oh, but Real Madrid were denied of a clear goal scoring opportunity or a penalty when Franco Mastantuano was impeded in the penalty area. And I would say, yes, that's probably a thing. They should have probably gone to VAR on that occasion. But again, if you raise me that one, I would raise you the fact that Tchouaméni should not have been on the pitch, in my opinion. Anyway, moving on from that situation, we get to the main talking point of that first half, which was Tchouaméni's tackle on the Oviedo player that led to Kylian Mbappe's goal. Now, leading up onto that one, like I said, Real Madrid have had a lot of possessions. They've passed, but they've never really done anything, in my opinion, that threatened Oviedo. They sat comfortably deep. They had a very good defensive block, and every now and then Oviedo threatened to go forward, and Real Madrid often recovered the ball high up and resumed the attack. This case was no different. Real Madrid was in a situation where Oviedo had taken the ball, and then again Tchouaméni comes in and he is trying to recover the ball from the Oviedo player. I forget, I'm not really familiar with this team, so I don't really know their names, but the situation happens. Tchouaméni goes in between the Oviedo player's legs, touches the ball, but gets a lot of the player. Now, initially when I saw this on my television screen, I thought surely that's a foul, right? And then the referee or the VAR or whoever in that moment thought, no, he got it all ball. And the thing that amused me was that they kept on showing the replay, and I could see clearly, one, even if he got a touch of the ball, he got a lot of the player. And secondly, he went through the player's legs. So definitely that should have been a foul. It wasn't called. Kylian Mbappe and Real Madrid turned that situation into a very quick attack, and I cannot fault Kylian Mbappe's skill in making that very quick turn and then making that strike and scoring the first goal. However, should that goal have stood is something that I argue no, but it's certainly going to be a talking point on social media. It's something that I want to hear from you. Do you think that that goal should have stood, that first goal? For me, I thought no. I thought it was a Tchouaméni foul. I thought Oviedo should have had a free kick in that moment. And again, mind you, I don't even think Tchouaméni should have been on the pitch at this point. But let me know what you thought in the comment section. If you've watched up until this point, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I would really, really appreciate your help. All of the good juice of this match really has to happen in the second half, because to my surprise, when the second half started, Oviedo takes on an attacking stance, and that lets me know that they gave Real Madrid a little bit too much respect in that first half, sitting in a low block. Of course, the Oviedo manager did make some changes. He brings in this player, I think his name is Hassan, and he changes this. He's an attack-minded player, and immediately we see more balls being put forward. Oviedo trying to create a thing or two there. Real Madrid struggling to contain the attack. I said this last week in my review of the game versus Osasuna, that Real Madrid's defense were not really tested, and that I would like to see what a test on Real Madrid's defense is going to look like. While Oviedo was not a very good team in today's match, in my opinion, I feel like they did show us that this defense is susceptible to being cracked by a very good team. Of course, it's a new look defense. You know, we have Dean Howson coming in. We have Danny Carvajal returning from an injury. We have Carreras, who is relatively new to that setup. So, of course, it's new. So, I would like to see a really quality team run at this defense. The couple of times, or the few times in the second half that Oviedo ran at that defense, I stood up and I was like, I see something here. I see something here. But let's talk about the moment that I really want to talk about from that second half. Again, from a defense performance for Real Madrid, and again, a refereeing inconsistency. Because Oviedo in that second half are creating a lot. They've grown in confidence. They're attacking Real Madrid, and they create a very good opportunity where the ball is put into the box, and Rondon is in a position where Dean Howson is basically defending him. The ball is coming to him. He's trying to control the ball and of course put it in a goal wall. Dean Howson makes a two-handed shove on Rondon, and it's not a foul, and it's in the box, and it's not a foul. It's not a pen. Listen, yesterday I was crashing out on here. I was crashing out in my short form content talking about I cannot understand. I am tired. I'm exhausted with La Liga because of those refereeing inconsistencies. And this is one that this match continued to throw me for a loop. Like every time I try to make sense of what I'm watching, it continues to throw me for a loop. Because again, I talked about the double slice from Tchouaméni, and of course the Tchouaméni foul that led to the goal that was not called, and then the opportunity for Real Oviedo to like create something, but also Dean Howson doing a two-handed shove, pushing the player down in the box, but again, it was not called. But you know, it's normal. Nothing to see here. We move on. And the game is continuing to develop. One of the things that made me laugh about that scenario where I just described is a similar scenario occurs in the other side of the box, where I think it's a Real Madrid player that shoves an Oviedo player down while trying to score a goal. And guess what it gets? It gets called as a foul, and Oviedo's awarded a free kick in their box. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there was a lot of refereeing inconsistencies. It was just shocking to me. However, the match, in my opinion, really starts to get really interesting, of course, when Vinicius Jr. gets on. At this point, Real Madrid are hanging on to a very, very tight and slender lead. And Vinicius Jr. is subbed in, and I think he comes in for Franco Mastentua. But at this point, I'm thinking this man, he has a chip on his shoulder. Of course, the Oviedo fans are booing him because he does a dive that doesn't really go well, you know, gets a yellow card for it and all of that stuff. But he comes in, and I think he comes in understanding that a lot of criticism was leveled against him last week, against his performance. He didn't really have the best performance against Osasuna. He couldn't even do some dribbles, some take-ons. Nobody's scared of him anymore. And then he lost his position in the starting lineup. He was dropped. So he had a point to prove. And when I tell you that this man came in, he was energetic. He made good runs. Combined very well with Kylian Mbappe for that second goal. And that second goal is something that I cannot fault. You see, when you guys score a good goal, I will say the truth. I speak the truth and I do not lie. That second goal, sensational. Real Madrid, again, it starts from a situation where Oviedo, again, were creating a lot of stuff in that second half. They had an opportunity to level it 1-1 and they created a very good moment. And this is why I keep saying that I am looking forward to, players testing out this Real Madrid defense, because they carved that Real Madrid defense wide open. The ball lands on this player's leg. Oh my days, he has so much time and space to pick his spot, and then he hits the bar. And from that moment, Real Madrid takes that, turns that into an attack. 1 minute later, Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. are running together. A counter-attack is on. Vinicius Jr. expertly slots the ball to Kylian Mbappe, who slots home a very, very good goal for the second. And at this point, it's game, set, match for Real Madrid. And I thought, oh, okay, cool, no problem. Kylian Mbappe is already up to 3 goals in this new La Liga season, having a sensational season already in terms of being in front of goal. Of course, remember that he scored that penalty for Real Madrid. Of course, 2 goals today. So already ahead in the Pichichi race. But it's not over, because Vinicius Jr. continues to work wonders in this game. Again, a lot of the criticism calling for him to be dropped, I am sure he had those. He had a chip on his shoulder. He had something to prove, and I live for it. The way he was pressing in this game, and I think one of his presses was what led to the turnover by Oviedo, and I think it was Hassan again who loses the ball in a very, very inopportune place for Oviedo. They pick the ball, they are running, and then of course Vinicius Jr. has that opportunity to slot it home for the third for Real Madrid, and he was not shy about letting us hear about it. And honestly, I've been looking forward to a Vinicius Jr. performance like this, a performance that was less about his antics on the field, his attacks, or his rolling or his moaning on the field, and more about the brilliant footballer that we've come to know over the years, the footballer that promised to do it 10 times better. And he was due for a performance like this. In my opinion, he was the best player for Real Madrid on the pitch today. He certainly deserved the man of the match. But I'm still looking forward to the day when I can review a Real Madrid game without the referee making himself a main character in this game or in a game. But a good win. A good win. For Oviedo, they're still looking for their first win in La Liga. It's been really, really hard introduction to the new La Liga season, having to play, I think it was Betis that they played last week, and then having to play Real Madrid this week. It's hard. It's really hard. But I'm sure that they will, from what I saw in this second half today, they will get some wins under their belts. They just need to give their opponents less respect and play their game. And when they do that, when they get the opportunities, they actually need to finish it. But yeah, back-to-back clean sheet for Real Madrid, who are now comfortably on 6 points with Barcelona and Villarreal at the top of the La Liga table. We will continue to watch all Real Madrid and Barcelona matches. Let me know what you thought about this game. Was that first goal a goal? Let me know what you thought about that. Should Tchouaméni have been booked for a foul at the very least? What did you make of Vinny Jr.'s performance in this game? Definitely he heard all the criticism from last week and turned in a monster performance. He was certainly due for one. I would like to hear all about your thoughts in the comment section. But until next week, bye guys.